It's WAAAGH Wednesday. Welcome back. I'm here with the stats and the facts. Like always, we're going to go over the rise of the green tide. So we start with 40K Meta Monday. As you can see, Orks are sitting at a 54% win rate over the weekend. As for the last 6 weeks, we're sitting at a 47% win rate. This weekend wasn't too active, so everybody knows. You can see there's only about 11 players here. But those players did great, so great job, 54% win rate here. But one thing I kind of want to point out, we have Necrons skyrocketing over this 58% weekend win rate, and then only a 48 prior to that, right? Then we have Black Templar still staying relevant. And that's just something for us to keep in mind as orc players, because typically we do actually quite good into Necrons. And like always on WAAAGH Wednesdays, we go over the faction versus faction matchup here, right? And as for the win percentage, here, I think this is a good spot. 54% where we want to stay going into a post data slate. Going into a data slate that's coming up. We don't want to be a nail sticking up to get hammered down, right? We like that we're going where we're at. People see us as like a B, A tier army. That's kind of where we want to be. I can see people kind of wanting us to get nerfed with Squigs or Maz, but still, this makes it so our faction isn't a focal point like maybe the upcoming ones that we're going to talk about. But like always, let's talk about the faction versus faction. So what we do here, if you haven't seen, is Goonhammer 40K stats. We go over the Leviathan GT pack since the data slate, so 9/15/23 up to pretty much yesterday, right? So in order, we have Astra Militarm as our worst matchup. Again, we've seen this actually for at least the last 6 to 7 weeks, that Astra Militarm and Death Guard are right there hand in hand. This Death Guard win rate has actually been going down still steadily. Then we have here. I'm ignoring that Adeptus Mechanicus is not enough wins yet, but we'll pay attention to it because it's been there for a while. Now we have Tyranids. So Tyranids are not known for being that powerful, that scary. They are very popular, but they actually do quite well into orcs, and there's several reasons for that. We'll just go over that now, actually. One of them is the Norn Emissary can be quite devastating when he's in something like a Nexus fleet, right? If people are easy for people to build that up, have triple Norns, double Norns, you get a Maliceptor next to him for -1 to hit. The Norn himself is actually durable enough in many ways to withstand a Beast Paws on foot or Squig Hog Boys. Sometimes even withstand a Gaz here and there, but not always. The Vanguard Vanguard fleet can put orcs on the back foot, constantly scoring fixed secondaries. We have and then the Vanguard was invasion. And then the invasion fleet itself being able to put sustained onto all the infantry that orcs have, and Tyranids themselves on their data sheets having high blast profiles. So, and for the most part, people go, oh, they don't have good data slates data sheets into damage. They have just good enough damage into orcs where they can kill them kind of regularly. So Tyranids are actually a tough matchup for orcs in most cases. Leagues of Voltan, that's just been going great since the data slate, since where they're at. Running a bunch of transports, good mid-range damage. They have volume, they have some fighting potential, they have durability, they have access to Armor of Contempt. They can just stick with their version of a Land Raider into a middle objective and tempt you to try to come take it and throttle, and then they just put their whole armies into you. They could put your judgment tokens on all your favorite units, up to like 4 of them, and then they have characters to enhance that. So they're constantly hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, and even your devastating units on 5s and 4s. So they can just do it. Black Templars, this has actually dropped, right? We were actually doing okay. We were sitting at like a 50% win rate. Then you see it drop to like a 49. And then this has just plummeted actually this week down to 46, 47. I think they're kind of tuning their lists here and there more and more. They're figuring out how to play that Iron Hands detachment. That seems to be the main one that's just the most successful, considering they get free Meltas. Well, not free, I guess it's 5 points, but it feels almost free. And they, like I said, Black Templars do combine arms the best. Having those those data sheets that are Black Templar specific. And then we have Adeptus Custodes, right? This kind of surprised me a little bit because we were back kind of beating them, right? We had to actually push them back. Prior to the data slate, guys, we had like a 19% win rate into Custodes. So if you're new to this channel, Orks, just know that before the data slate, everybody else sees Custodes and they're like, they got nerfed into oblivion. They're terrible. For Orks, we needed that against them because they were 19% win rate into Custodes for a bit, and then it went up to like 26. They were overwhelming because of what they used to be able to do. So this is not actually that surprising. What just surprised me is that it's happened kind of suddenly and late in the game because they have a lot of good melee potential, right? And then Eldar, right? The one thing I want to point out is right here. Let's go all the way down to one of our best matchups, Necron. So Necrons, guys, pay attention to this, right? Prior to their codex, prior to this weekend, Necrons were sitting at a 48% win rate, and Orks, they were sitting at a 67% win rate. Let's see how this number changes going forward for the weeks to come, right? So 67% win rate, keep it in your head. Objectively speaking, this is pretty much our easiest matchup because let's just eliminate Deathwatch because that's too much of a niche faction. So you can just do it from here. Look at that. Necrons being, if anything, our best matchup. So let's see how that changes going in to the events, right? Because if you look at Necrons right here, they went all the way up to a 58 from a 48. And then they actually went out and did well and actually won a tournament winner right there. So Necrons are doing great. And then you look right here with the Canoptic Court. We'll talk about that a bit today going forward. I'm sure you guys will hear plenty about that. So Necrons are on the table for Orks, yet we historically do well into Necrons. And I still have a feeling we're going to do mighty fine into them. So before I go into the list of this week, let me go over and peep out the chat. Word of whoa! Let's see what you get. Let me see what you gets got to say. So let me check over the chats. I see all you gets. Is it right? Whoa! Let's get it. Let's get it. I see you guys with the run herders in chat, the wild boys. What I'm trying to see, the orc boys. Let me get them badges of the MegaNobz and the Warbosses. How do you get? Let's go. And then wait. I don't know why you guys have frogs in chats. What is wrong with you guys? Do not put the not the frogs. Use the badges, you dorks. Oh no, I'm just kidding. I'm pretty sure they do that to include poor daggers. So actually, that's what it is. I see you daggers, poor daggers. All right, you guys, give daggers some love there. All right. So going forward with that, let's look over Michael Mann's list. So this is actually one of the bigger events of this weekend. This was 101 players, so quite respectable. They were doing 6 games. So there'll be Michael Mann. We'll actually go over another list here, right here, Jake Gonzalez, number 18. So we'll go over him as well in this event. And funny enough, there's a funny orc list we're going to come across while going over these matchups, right? I'm sure you guys will actually like one of the lists. So right here, let's take a list. He calls this modern orcs. Mr. Mann calls this modern orcs. Let's see what his interpretation of the modern orc, the modern war may be. So we have a Beast Boss on Squigosaur with Edwapus, Skill Chopper. Captain Badrock, Mazrad Scragback, Warboss, Warboss and Mega Armor. So right away, I'm going to notice no Squig Beast Knob. So I'm going to wonder if there's Squigs on this list as a whole. Let's see. We got a Beast Snaggle Boy unit, just one regular boy unit. Okay. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trucks. So he's bringing back the truck list. One less truck than what we've, the max potential, but that's still good. 5 trucks. Let's see what he did. 1 Flash Gets unit, 3 Gretchen units. So he just filled that up. 1 MegaNob brick for the War Boss. 2 of what we like to call the Knob Scalpel units, right? But he broke them down to these 5-man units. People are using these 5-man units for the more activations. You can double down them inside of 1 truck if you want to. I don't think that's what he was doing here. Let's see. He has Flash Gets in the 1 truck. Yeah, so he didn't. He had boys, Flash Gets, Knob, and then what was that? Beast Boss, Beast Snaggle boys. Yeah, so he had all these guys. Or he actually, what he could have done is he could have, let's see. Yeah, he could have put this War Boss unit in there and then, yeah, put double the War Boss and the 5-man Nobz unit in one of the trucks. So he had all these guys in transports put all over the table. So everybody knows what this list does. You can think it off the top of your head. We got the Grots. 2 20-man units can easily sit back and screen your backfield. You can throw 1 forward as like a sacrificial / screener. So everybody knows what that list is. We've seen it for a while, but he brought it back and he did quite well because we'll just look at this going right away. 100, 163, 195, 88. So he did very, very well. So let's look at his first game. His first game, he went into the Necron. He calls this the Rise list. So the Canoptic Court, guys. Let's go over this a little. If you guys haven't heard about it yet, you should start getting a little bit familiar. I think this faction might be getting a points increase, but it's still important to kind of know the rules because we at least have a month of you having to deal with them if you plan to go out to an RTT and have fun. So we have a Catan Nightbringer, Catan Shard of the Void Dragon. So Catan's overall for, besides the Void Dragon, the Nightbringer, he's a relatively small model. You can stick him behind buildings. He can slowly make his way up the field. You're not really going to notice him. He's durable per point unless you're really bringing a mass volume like squigs and stuff into him. So it's interesting. We'll see how he will move forward talking about that. We have the Overlord with the Translocation Scroll and the Resurrection Orb, the Plansmancer, another Plansmancer, a Technomancer. So these are the characters that are going to end up going in those Wraith bricks most likely, and or the Immortal bricks. We have the Catan Shard, Immortal. So if you guys don't know about the Immortals, we'll just sum this up real quick in case you don't know. The Tesla Carbines have sustain 2, so you guys know how Orks have sustains on 6s. These guys have sustain 2s. They can get full rerolls with you're on an objective, so the enemy they're targeting, they're looking on the objective, so the reroll the hit roll. That's from the actually Canoptic core, and then the Immortals themselves are Strength 5, 0 AP, 1 damage as their Gauss weapons, but they are devastating, so they get to reroll that into dev wounds if they choose to pop a strat for that. So their data sheet ability is reroll wounds, but they can pop a strat or they can choose to do it, I think, freely with some characters to have. And so essentially they're taking that, hitting on 3s, 2 sustain 6s, rolling that out with their mass volume of guys, probably re-rolling it to fish for 6s because they're getting sustain 2. Then take all those hit rolls, put it into whatever unit they're shooting into, look for devastating wounds, roll that again for wounds, look for devastating wounds. So if they do it correctly, they're looking for about 11 dev wounds if they're popping that strat. So he has 2 of them probably, so he can pop it off twice. One probably with the strat, one with the character, maybe potential. He has Canoptic Scarab Swarm, 2 Wraiths, so only 2 big Wraith unit, and then 2 Blade unit, some bike scoring potential. So these Wraiths, what is their defensive profile like for us as Orcs players to keep track of? So they have 4, they're T6 with the 3 up armor save, a 4 up invul, and a 5 up feel no pain with 4 wounds a pop. They have 2 OC. It's important for us to keep track of. I'm gonna say here, since we already know he got 100 points going into this, right? Looking at his list, we know they do. I should keep this in mind in this detachment. Something for us to keep. I'm always speaking about how this can be important for us as Orc players. When an army has a reactive movement ability, so they have a reactive move 6 inches ability, and they have the ability to loan out one of their units, so it can't be targeted to shoot. So you have to keep that in mind if you're using Captain Badrook and such. That being said, this comes down to they don't really have the potential to pop your trucks. And you can run in and stage all your units freely as you want. Orcs, they do have some guns. I will keep that in mind with their pistols. They have their mortals, but they don't have stuff that's reliably popping trucks at range. So you can take all these trucks, stage them all over the area, really depending on the mission, choose the throttle. I don't know the mission, so I can't give that context. Choose the throttle where and when you need to. They do have good defensive profiles, but considering you can throw grenades at them, you can tank shot them with the truck. You could put a lot of volume damage 2 into them, wounding them on 3s. You can still put enough damage into them and OC where you can end up taking over the objective. One thing you do have to keep in mind is these Immortal bricks, they do tend to pick up Orcs in a way that's, they pick up mostly everything, even with the Devlins, but I'm saying even if they don't pop that, because Orcs don't have great armor saves. So this can go either way. This comes down to a character, each player, how they put this out. So we know that Michael McMahon's an excellent character, but this isn't like an easy win by any means. This is just the Necron player doesn't have potential to pop those transports, and the game is very, very favoritive towards having a lot of transports because you can just stage and move up the board and be really annoying. So you have the second matchup he had where he got 100 points into, so you could have 100 points in that first one. We had the second matchup with Gaunt's Ghost. So Gaunt's Ghost, they have a bunch of different abilities where they can just play the mission, harass enemy units in a certain way with their odd profiles. Like you see they have auto cannons in here, a little bit of melee and such. But for Orcs, I don't really find them to be too problematic. Solar Leontis, because he's good for any gun line. Platoon Command Squad, Tank Commander, Cadian, Catachans for that infiltration, another infantry squad, a Chimera unit, Hellhounds. These guys are great, for their points for what they do. I believe they give like ignore cover, and they have great Inferno cannons on their own. 1-2 Rogodorns, really durable, a lot of guns on them. We have a big unit of Scout Sentinels. I find these to be quite useful for them. For a guard, I'm surprised that they decided to put it all in one unit, but yet not really, because now they get to regen this unit constantly. Sometimes you feel like, hey, 3 small ones might be better for activations, but when you're really playing the game and you're deciding, hey, I'm going to spend CP and regenning this, it could be worth it because you do get those hunter killer missiles back. Now, if you're playing on a proper GW board, 5 trucks can still stage. Royal Dorns are only getting, you're only getting some activations between the tank and the Royal Dorns. So you are going to lose a truck here, but you should be able to disembark, hopefully out of line of sight. They're not going to pop all your trucks, and you should be able to put enough pressure and take over the mission. Guard is one of our hardest matchups, though. The one thing that I'm actually happy to see here is you just don't have to deal with their damage 3 indirect. That would be quite annoying because that's when they can pop your trucks, and then they could just end up taking out whatever falls out of the truck. Or if you do run squigs, they can end up taking out squigs. So by no means is I'm looking at this as nothing. Like we said, Michael Mann's a good player and such. So great job by Michael Mann for pulling that on. Let's go into his game 3. Trying to make sure I pop through these kind of little quicker guys so I'm not slacking. So right here we have a kind of sleeper loss, right? Because we were talking about how, as a whole, typically Sisters of Battle aren't seen as a hard matchup for Orks. There's just a softer version of Marine sometimes, is the way we like to look at it, right? They're trying to do the little version of combined arms. They like to meet us in the mid board. So let's see what they're trying to do here. We have Morgan Fall. She's going to go most likely with the Paragon Warsuits, with Triumph of St. Thamfrin, Canonas, Dialogus, Palatine. We have a Sisters of Battle squad, 2 bricks of Arcoflagellants. So these guys get, each model can get, I believe it's 6 attacks from their data sheet ability. Their strength 5/0 AP, twin linked. So they're just putting a ridiculous amount of volume into whoever they're fighting, which, that actually works into not great armor save Orc stuff. So Nobz end up getting blended up by something that's only 130 points, surprisingly. You would think that they don't, but, it can go either way when you're putting that many dice into them. Then you have 2 units of those, pretty much. The Crusader, you got Seraphins, but what I wanted to point out were these gun platforms are actually quite useful into Orcs. So we have, for their point cost as well, right? We have Castigator cannons. They're like D6, strength 9, D6, +3, I believe I want to say. Auto cannon shots. These are auto cannons. Sorry, these are the Castigator cannons, which auto cannons are even better for them because they get more shots. Still flat damage 3 for all of these auto cannons for them. And then they have the Exorcist, which also have good profiles. But what they also have is a weird kind of ability on their profiles where whoever they shoot at, they can give something like support prowl, so they get to reroll wounds into them. So you can see this, maybe possibly this Sister of Battle unit possibly jumping out of one of these Exorcists and getting those extra shots in. But oh no, never mind, that emulator. So they were just chilling with emulators that transport in all these rhinos. And then you have a Paragon Warsuit for that Morgan Vol, like we were talking about. So they have a ton of damage 3. They can actually, and for the most part, you're looking at these guys like autocannons, and you're like, you don't have good AP. Well, for Orcs, we don't mind. That's not great. They actually have enough AP to pop trucks. They have enough AP to pick up elite Orc infantry units. Put kind of volume even into Maz for a little bit sometimes if they have to. So I'd like to see how they would deal with that. They do have good combined arm strats as well. So Sisters of Battle did end up taking them down. This is one of those armies where you are going to, and then they have the Caladius Assassin, a lot of Rhinos. So think about this, guys. We have these, believe these 3, and then even I think the Exorcist, I want to say, is also a transport 2, even though it's categorized as a vehicle, not a dedicated transport. It has transport capability too. So I'm not saying they're all filled with units, but we're talking about you can just start staging guys and putting them places and being really annoying and not letting people kill your scoring units. With good staging, it's kind of interesting how the profile, the meta is starting to look like that. So it's okay losing to that. I would really have liked to know what the mission was, get some context, but hey, it is what it is. So 63 points. Then we'll go into his 4th matchup, which was actually kind of a hard game. Hard list, surprisingly, kind of. Sorry, they're all obviously kind of hard. We're playing it's good games here, but what I'm saying is it's CSM, so it's definitely hard, but it's a little bit different than what we normally see. We have Abaddon the Despoiler, a Chaos Lord with Talisman of Burning Blood, Master of Executions with the Court Mark of Coln, a Cultist Mob, another Cultist Mob, another Cultist Mob, big Legionary unit, a Chaos Land Raider with the Mark of Nurgle, another Chaos Land Raider with the Mark of Nurgle. Right, they're looking to not be shot with the Mark of Nurgle. Help them with their different capabilities with that. Vindicator with the Mark of Nurgle, a big unit of Chosen, obviously with the Mark of Khorne. Warp Talon, and then 2 Nurgling bricks. So I think they could have done with trying to fix the more Chosen on the list. Obviously, that's kind of the meta here. As for whole, something I want to pull up here, sorry, that I didn't over earlier, is when you look at this Chaos Marine win rate, this is not bad considering how S tier Chaos Marines are seen to be. Very, very optimal kind of faction. I'm not saying they're not when I do these quotations, by the way. I'm saying everybody has their own opinion, but I'm saying here we have the 54% win rate into them. So it's not like we're doing horrible. And as we go over all these different these lists throughout the weeks and how the meta is looking, you can see we do good into them because they're used to shooting you and kind of softening you up and then running in and fighting you. And sometimes even a destroyed you, it's kind of an injured Udin of Orks can either fight on death and kill you or survive that shooting and then countercharge the Chaos Marines and end up kind of taking down too many of them and dismantling this army as they don't get good enough trades into them, right? Like something like Warp Talons, normally they're just, some armies might have to worry about actually fighting these Warp Talons. Orcs are just like, yeah, bro, we'll take that on. We'll just go straight into that with whatever is left over. If you get it within range of us, we're charging everything. They're not playing, this list also isn't playing the transport meta. And as a whole, sometimes you can just ignore Abaddon if you have to, at least long enough to score and play the mission. Flash hits are also devastating into that matchup. So 100 points from there, right? 95. So let's go into Michael Mann. Now, this is a list that I wanted you guys to see. This is a hilarious, fun, orky list. Whoa! So let's shout out to Tim Frispy. I just wanted to give you a shout out, buddy. That's a great list. So we have Mech, Gorkanaut, Kill Tank, Mecha Dread, Stompa. Boom, that's his whole list. He pretty much brought a Stompa list and the Mech Dregs for the mean. So not going to look super hard into that. It is still obviously a skew. He does have some of the tools with the Beast Boss and Edwap's Kill Chopper to deal with that. Miles on this list. A lot of trucks to where, hey, he might not even be able to pop those with the shooting because Orks are so swingy. So yeah, it's just the transport meta kind of beats the Stompa meta. Surprisingly, right? Surprising everybody, but 95-point win. And then we'll look at his last but certainly not least matchup, which is another Necron Canoptic Court list. And talking about how we felt about Orks. I don't feel like Orks are horrible. I'm having a horrible time with Necrons. We're not trying to shoot them. If anything, we're trying to run in there and beat the crap out of them. We're trying to crumple them. So we have the volume, and having a bunch of flight damage too at the perfect volume and winning them greatly is works good into Necrons. So let's see what happens here. We have this Canoptic Court list. We have Hexmark Destroyer, Emotech the Stormlord, Overlord with Transcendent Scout, Plasmancer, Technomancer, Immortals, a Necron Warrior brick. I don't think this is optimal, to be honest. I would like to see how this worked out. Just my opinion. Canoptic Doomstalker. Then we have the Sentinel. So these are like some Forge World guys. They're like these centipedes. They get on an objective. They fight a bit. They shoot a bit. They're not terrible. I guess they have an aura. Not really 100% sure what the aura does. I just seen that. 2 Wraiths and then another one single blade tomb blade, a single tomb blade unit in order for scoring and playing the mission. So again, only 2. Think about it. Only 2 Necron Wraith units. You throttle. You get those flash kits disembarking the transport, getting within 12 inches so you don't get lone opt. Hopefully you don't also respawn and get too close and reactively move them away from you. But you can get the flash kits in range, pop the ammo runt, get a charge off on them, Unbridled Carnage, beat up that unit, just straight up pick up one of those units. They only have 1 left. And then they're still kind of trying to hope that the rest of the stuff doesn't get touched or get within range of you. So because Necrons don't have the ability to fall back and shoot unless it's like the Warden or something like that. So always keep in mind, guys, if you're running a truck spam list, just start running out and touching all these Necron lists and all these Necron bricks, and you'll slow them down because they can't fall back and shoot. So they would hate that. They would hate that as a whole. So great job by Michael Mann with the truck spam. He brought it back and he went ham. Whoa! All right. So we'll go over We'll go over Jake Gonzalez's list. So he did go 4-2. There's nothing to scoff at such a big event. But I think you guys will actually like his list because it's kind of a throwback to the past. That's what, if anything, I should have called this a throwback to the past because we've seen the truck spam list and now we're about to see another fun throwback list. Before that, let me look at some of the chats real quick from some of you gits because I see you boys in here. Let me see some. Badge Orks. Let me get them walls. Let me see them boys in chat. Let me see everything. Let's see. Race with the Technomancer is a pain and the triple Catan. Yeah. That's why I'm kind of sticking to a lot of squigs on my list as well for the Catan. A lot of damage too. Your wounding rates pretty well. So I'm not really too worried about Necrons in that way, to be honest, compared to a lot of other factions are. The latest data slate will affect for LVO. Next update might come after late January. Yeah, it actually should be an effect for that. I would assume that as well, right? And then Adepticon, we'll see what's going on at Adepticon because I'm wondering if they're doing that. 6 Catan isn't a meme list anymore. Yeah, I know, right? It's definitely not. It's not. I don't think it's the best version, but it's not a meme list anymore. He said, guys, I built 2 units of flashes. They came with, they didn't come with an ammo run. Even if it's a special unit ability, has this happened to anyone else? I don't think so, but just use a grab. Just use a grab. It's fine. Just like a token. It's not everything. Whoa, the Leroy. That's what I'm talking about. You get. So let's look at Jake Gonzalez's list because this is something y'all gonna like because it's a throwback to the Gids. He said, Orks, what else would I play? Nothing you get, just a green tide. It's all about that wall. So we got Captain Badrock, Miles Wrong Scragbag, Nobz Smash Squid, Edwap Skill Chopper, Nobz Smash Squid, follow me, lads. Nobz Smash Squid. Beast Snaggle Boys, Beast Snaggle Boys. Flash Gets, Gretchen, Killrig, Squig Hog Boys, Bricks, boom, the end. Yep, that's the whole list. 3 units of Squig Hog Boys, 2 Kill Rigs, 1 Gretchen unit, Flash Gets, and then 2 units of Beast Snaggle Boys for each Kill Rig. Bam. Squig Bam. He just said Squig Bam, and then I'm going to put some Flash Gets in there so I get some full firepower from them guns, and I'm good enough. Let me get rid of some of these lists here I had. Still up. So I had a bunch of lists up. So yeah, he just decided I'm going to bring all of the squigs. I'm going to bring the squigs back. So let's see how the squigs did. They got 18th, so he was doing great. Let's see what his matchups were. Going first, boom, right away, Imperial Knights. So some people might think, oh, man, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff for you to deal with. Could they survive all that? Yeah, sorry. In reality, the squigs really, really do kind of run over Imperial Knights. Even with the kill rigs, even if they do get blown up, the squigs themselves are just, as they run into any of those knights, they just demolish them. On the WAAAGH, he just, the 5 have been vulnerable, and then being able to do Artist Nails, he'll survive combat. So we'll just go right over that. But a great job into him. You still love seeing it. Before the post data slate as well, Knights were Orc predators, even with squigs. Sometimes they were just Orc predators. So it's something that we pay attention to because that could change if they change the rules again. Maybe we don't know how that could end up changing us because they were one of our hardest matchups too. So I did just go over it, but it's not that I'm not aware of its potential. So we got Chaos Lord as their second matchup, the Dark Commune, and the Master of Executions with the Mark of Corn. Cultist Mob, Accursed Cultist. So this is a very kind of annoying unit, to be honest, with all the ablative kind of mix of wounds, right? You have guys that can take damage 1, guys that can take damage 2, and such. But really, that's why Orcs having mass damage 2 is kind of nice. Because then they just blend through these guys. So like, put it on whoever you want. They're getting crumped. So we got 2 of those units of Accursed Cultists, 2 units of Chosen, 2 Warp Talon units. So I know these are great for their version of Storm Boys, right? But they can punch a little bit. 1 Chaos Spawn. And then we have a Forge Fiend with the Actoplatinum, of course, and then 2 Rhinos for the Chosen, right? 1 Beast of Nurgle. These guys are kind of fun. One time, no joke, one time my Maz got stuck in combat with the Beast of Nurgle for like 3 rounds. I was so annoyed because if you don't kill him outright, he fully heals, and he has an odd number of wounds at like 7 wounds. So it was just super obnoxious. And he was actually beating Gaz in the fight because he does dev wounds. So it was obnoxious. Nurgling. I'm not proud of this. I'm just letting you guys know. 2 units of Nurglings. So one thing about this, like I always say, guys, when you're playing against one of these kind of combined arms / melee armies that you know is going to get stuck in and actually able to pick up your units, keep in mind keeping those 2 CP in the bank, being CP management aware that you allow yourself to fight in death, because fighting in death with Nobz or squigs is how you really just put a wrench in the gears of all these big units, because they're thinking, I have this brick, I'm running there, I'm gonna annihilate you, I'm gonna hold this position, I'm gonna survive when you do a little clapback to me, I'm gonna keep crumping you. You fighting in death, giving them like not a good trade is horrible for them, considering they're already an overall more expensive army than us. So he did go in there and end up beating them too, right? So you would be like, dang, he's beating these with you would see him maybe think a little memey of a list, right? Because you're just thinking, man, it's all squigs. No, it's just straight power. That's what it is. He's just going straight power. So then we're going to go number 3 with Jake Gonzalez list. He's going into Gene Stealer Colts. Something I'll say right here is Gene Stealer Colts coming off the board. They're hoping and praying they can just take off that one squig unit when they do come off, because they're conceding the board. Other than that, we're just running them over. We got 3 Primus, a reductive saboteur, so he's running in and trying to put some mortals into you. Squigs end up even having a feel no pain into that. I mean, even the kill rigs have a feel no pain into that. We have beast bosses as well. We got acolyte hybrid. So these guys normally you're like, oh, they might actually survive. They don't actually survive. But even with their damage that they're coming in off the side of the field, with seismic cannons and stuff, I'm telling you, it's just not that reliable that they're gonna actually be able to kill squig bricks. And then even leftover squig units just start annihilating them and holding the rest of the board. And you can see they have like Achilles Ridge Runners, and then they have a little bit of this like guard kind of whatever they're like a corrupt kind of cultist assistant, the guards cult system. But yeah, those are respectable, but for orcs on most and certain missions, you're just running, you're just kind of running them over. Let's go into what was that, his 4th matchup? Did I just miss that? No, I didn't, right? No, this is his 4th matchup. So his 4th matchup, he ended up going into Nick Dots Toomey. So he ended up going into, I want to say this is the same guy, by the way. Yeah. This is the same guy for the orcs that Michael Mann ended up losing to, right? So we have right here, he had on the 4th round. And if you go up to, because that guy ended up doing good, right? Because if we go up to, where is he at? I'm having a brain fart looking at him. Oh, I might have messed it up. Wait, where was this player, right? Nick Doot Toomey? I guess not, maybe. He was the same player, though. That we over there. I guess I couldn't find it right now, but that's the same player that actually ended up being Michael Mann early in the round, earlier in that battle round. But going into Squigs, that many redundancy, I think he just kind of pressure overwhelmed him, but it was a hard win because look at that, 63 points. Because I was looking for where is Nick Toomey's score here. Right? Ooh, I was looking for that. I don't see it. Like maybe I just messed it up. But yeah, it wasn't like it was an easy win by any means, because like I said, all those profiles that we talked about with the castigators and stuff, there's a straight damage 3. So something to keep in mind there with that. His 4th battle round, he did get a win there. Keep in mind, after he ended up getting that win, he went into the big dog. So he did lose after 2, but the only people he lost to with these last 2 games are people that ended up in the top 8. So Colin Dade and McDade ended up getting Colin Dade. Yeah, he ended up getting 1st place right here. And then this other guy he lost to, Kit, right here in the last battle round, 79 points, got 7th place. So even though you're looking and you're like, oh, he lost 2 games, he didn't go undefeated. He didn't. It's fine, dude. He did a great job, because the only people he lost to people who did excellent, top 10 placers out of 100 people. So he only lost to the top almost literal 8% of player, 10%. So that's nothing, especially considering he's running just squigs and kill rigs. So it's very thematic, very fun. Oops, I picked Jake again. So that being said, let's look at this next round list, right? So he says, at least it's 18 race instead of 27 chicken. Derp. Feels like 6th edition. Oops, 6th edition doesn't sound fun. So Necron, Shard with the Nightbringer, Void Dragon, Hexmark's Destroyer, Technomancer, Transcendent Catan. This guy brought more wraiths. So the other guy, they were bringing just 12 of them. He went all the way out. The flayed ones, I believe they do infiltrating or they do deep strike. I'm having a brain fart right now. 1 Locust Heavy Destroy. It's interesting, only brought 1 just so that he could kind of stick the Mark Destroyer with it. And then he brought 2 different Tomb Blades. So I think this is a big, more refined version of the list. Obviously, this person ended up winning the event, but I think fitting all 18 rights on the list, having more Tomb Blades for scoring potential matters more than having more characters or more, spamming even more Catans if possible. So losing to the person who lost the event, sorry, excuse me, I hiccup there. Losing to the person who won the event's nothing to scoff at. But what surprised me about this is even with having that many squigs, he still lost. So I wonder if the kill rigs didn't pull their weight, or if the beast snaggle boys didn't pull their weight, because I'm still pretty convinced that squigs themselves do quite well into Necron race. I just think that they need some support, maybe between a tank shock from some trucks or some grenades, or maybe flash kits to help throttle into one and start taking them down, because you don't want to get in prolonged stuck in fights with them, because you are then strength 5 without lance if you're stuck in a fight with those wraiths and you're wounding them on 5. So you do need to go in there and make sure that when the squigs get in there, they charge them clean out. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. And then the last matchup he had was going into the Dark Angels. So we have, again, like always, the very imposing Iron Storm Spearhead detachment. So we have Azrael, Raven Wing Talon Master. So that's interesting how they put the Talon Master with the machine aura, right? So can you imagine a bigger unit, right? Because then a normal character is just on foot or something like a Tech Marine. He's a bigger base, so he can move, so you can extend that aura range even more, and he can run around and be fast. And we have Tech Marine on the side, another Tech Priest. Inceptor, Scout Marines, Ballistic Dread, Raven Ring, Dark Shroud. That was what I found kind of interesting, just more shooting. Landspeeder Vengeance, Redemptor Dreadnought, Storm Strike Speeder, its ability at least gives +1 to wound, but when it targets a unit. And then here we have a Storm Raven Gunship. So when you're running a bunch of squigs, you can imagine that having a Storm Raven Gunship, it gets, I believe it's like twin linked on its hurricane bolter, so it's like 24 shots at strength 6 or 7 or something like that, and twin links, so you're re-rolling the wound roll. You have missiles and plasma cannons, and you're shooting them, and no one in the orc unit can really kill you or take you down. So you can run around and pop stuff. Well, once things are popped, you can stage to totally shoot it. And if it disembarks, I'm not saying in this matchup, but in other matchups, and even with squigs, I mean, you can with these flyer bases. Remember, guys, with the real smart player, when the flyer can get shot, you'll pre-measure the enemy unit's move potential. So let's say you pre-measure the orcs moving, the squig moving, right? It moves 10 inches. You'll move your big fat dumb base in a way that the orcs won't be able to land where that plane base is if they move their full movement. So you can hinder Squig Hog Boy's movements taking up lanes just by putting flyers in that way. So that actually becomes a problem, surprisingly. So you think it's memeish, but it actually works on him with Gunship. So shout out to Jake Gonzalez. You did a great job getting 8th place and getting 4-2. Nothing to scoff at, losing to those people who did the top. Something for us to keep in mind is even though I think we do quite well into Necrons, they do have potential if they go full throttle and depending on the mission to beat us, even if we are running all them squigs, because what you really need to do is make sure that you do a little bit of softening up before you get in there, or you'll be stuck in combat with them and you'll be winning them on 5s. That's what actually would be kind of annoying. So let me see the chats before. So we're going to go over this list, and I'm going to look at the chats real quick before I go over this. This will be our final list that we're going to go over today. Shout out to Juan. But let me see what you guys got to say after I showed you that, because I want to see what you guys got to say about Necrons, Sisters of Battle, Space Marines with the Iron Head Storm Spearhead, because my list have been changing a little bit. I added more squigs to my list, looking that Necrons are coming into the data. I actually dropped my Beast Boss. If you guys want to know what my list is looking like, I kept flash kits because, you need to be able to shoot things. I dropped my Beast Boss on foot. I dropped my, that truck for him. I kept my Nobz Scalpel unit, and I added more squigs. So, boom. I love it. Pigs for the win. Crazy how IK went from meta bully on Imperial Knights to one of the worst armies. Makes me worry it won't be the last time GW overreacts in these data slates. Yeah, that's true. I hope they don't overreact with Maz. I'll be donating a gobble on Friday for a giveaway. Make sure you get your on here for Mighty and Flash that. Oh, shout out to Wicked Joe. So let's get some wars in the chat for Wicked Joe's. Let's get some War Boss badges, because Wicked Joe, when I see him, we're gonna play a game on Friday. I guess he's gonna donate a gobble to the chat for the raffle. So great job. Thank you. I appreciate that, Wicked Joe. So we'll see what happens there. We know we're giving out a raffle for members. McData is also well known in the Midwest. Yeah, he is. And hopefully I get the crump that get. What's up? WGL streamed that match so you can watch it. Awesome. I'd like to see that. Yo, you want one of those gargantuan squiggles I made? I'm feeling you don't respect the double big swans enough until you try it. I don't even know how I could say no to something like that, but I did order a gargantuan squig out that I'm going to be getting 2, so then I could run 2. So you reach, if you're being serious, hit me up. I'm not gonna say no. We could talk about it. I'm still confused that would be crazy. I'd probably run that. I'm still confused that he didn't use bomb squigs. It seemed no, he probably did, but they have a 5 of feel no pain. Remember, the race have a 5 of feel no pain. In the match, they have a 5 of feel no pain. That's why. Merry Wall Day to you. Yeah, coming from the Wall Day. Yeah, if you get 2 in R and LFL, I'll brush my shit. Yeah, you'll be feeling good if you give 4 and 2, right? That's why we look at those lists too, guys, because some people won't even show a list that goes 4 and 2. It's important that I show people, hey man, If you guys want to run kill rigs still can be run and beat a bunch of different armies. I mean, like I always say, a unit that can use every phase of the game, right? It's transporting, it's fighting, it's shooting, it's actually supporting by giving +1 strength, in the combat phase. I mean, that could help even against Necrons, It's nothing to just scoff at and be like, this is garbage. It's not garbage. It's just, you just don't want to run into like an Ironstorm because then you can get murked. You've seen. So let's look into Jose Juan. He went to Grand Dark Grand Tournament. So I guess -1. So maybe they had 53 players or something. So that's a good showing. So let's take a look at his list. We have Gazgul Thraka, Mask, Monsrock Scrackback, Nobz Smash Squig, Nobz Smash Squig, Nobz Smash Squig, and double War Boss, and a Weird Boy. So we have triple Nobz Smash Squig. What you don't see here, guys, which kind of caught me off guard, no Edwapus Kill Chopper. How dare he run this without Edwapus Kill Chopper? Interesting, right? Very bold of him. 2 Gretchen units, a MegaNobz unit, a 3-man. I do like that he has the MegaNobz unit, but would you have rather paid for Edwapus Kill Chopper than a 3rd MegaNobz? That's interesting, right? We have Nobz and then a small unit of Nobz, a Squig-Off. So I'm not in love with Squig-Offs, to be honest, but you can appreciate that they can, they're very durable transport for a bit of a cheaper end compared to what the durability brings. But they don't have like a great melee profile, in my opinion. But they're a different, transport unit. 1, 2 Squig units. Think about it. Each one of these small Squig units had a Nob, and then only 1 big brick of Squigs, and then a Warbiker unit. So interestingly enough, let's talk about this. A 3-man unit of Squig Hog Boys with a Nobz Smash Squig. What do you have there? For what, 170? You have one of the best, skirmishing units with decent OC. Like for 170 points, what else is running out there and going toe-to-toe with the Squig Hog Boy unit? You can throw it on an objective, force enemies to commit into it. It's quite interesting, right? I've run them. I really wasn't in love necessarily because I couldn't punch. I didn't feel like I could punch up. I felt like I could easily punch across, but not punch up. But, he still did great with it. I mean, it's there. And then obviously you have the Weird Boy. 1 Weird Boy, 1 truck, right? The single Weird Boy for playing the mission. 1 truck, and then, like I said, the Squig-Off as your other transport. Now, how do I feel about Maz and Gaz on the same list? I actually love that. I've appreciated when I've run it. It's a lot of threat saturation. Gaz can Kool-Aid Man through the walls. His lethal aura from Makari, I cannot understate its utility, especially when you're going to pop Unbridled Carnage, because then it's crit 5s. You're going to get sustain and lethal on 5s. I'm telling you, it's preposterous. So I could see that's actually how you get this to go off, because now you're having that Squig unit with the Nobz Smasher Squig and a 3-man unit possibly getting Makari's ability. In that case, I can see it punching up, right? So let's look at some of his matchups. Oops, past it. I'd like to look at some of his matchups. Moving forward, because you can see right here, you got two 20s, which are perfect scores. Remember, guys, this is like ITC, so I believe it's like every 10 points, something like that. So if you ever see, they're gonna have close games for the most part. So this first matchup, Eric Westman, 3rd White/Black Templars. We have a captain with jump pack with Sigma Sealed, Captain Grimaldis, High Marshal Helbricht. So these guys right here, these 2 dudes are just super fighty, annoying, and oddly durable, because the guys, like I believe High Marshal Helbricht, I'm having a brain fart on which one, but one of them brings like 2 sidekicks with them. It's hilarious. But they get stuck in for fighting. Just think of them as like our version of Warballs, how we stick them in units to fight harder and give us like more survivability. That's how that works. Then they have the Lieutenant with 10 men's bones. We have a Crusader squad, big unit of Crusader squad. I saw intercessors with jump packs. I think these are. I appreciate the Space Marines have this now. We like our Squig Hog. Our Storm Boys. Then they have another small unit of that. Inceptor squad, Inceptor squad, Inceptor squad, Primaris Brethren squad, Scout. Then we have the 2 whirlwinds for the indirect fire. So this is a quite meta list. One thing I will say, as an Orc player, you do appreciate fight on death when you go into something like this. One thing I will notice is they don't have an abundance of direct firepower, right? I mean, even Inceptors don't really hurt Orcs too much. They just don't have enough volume to necessarily hurt too many of our units. Being able to fight in the jump pack Marines, they're not wounding great. They're really relying on their characters kind of carry that and the Sword Brethren. So it does take resource management as an Orc player to kind of deal with this kind of list. You will be happy to have someone like a Gaz on that list to just chop through and utterly demolish some of these units. If they can get a charge off, and if they charge him, he's probably going to fight in death. Hopefully, and do because remember the MegaNobz -3 AP, you're re-rolling the wound roll in there. Gaz getting +1 to hit. Quite well. And then we have all these squig units, right? So you look at these assault jump pack Terminators units, like I was just saying, for 170 points, assault pack, Marines going into a squig break unit in the knob. Is that really going to do that well? I mean, even if they have their chaplain, he does give him +1 to wound. I'm aware of that, but we can -1 the wound. We have feel no pain. All of our punches back are damaged too. If we choose to fight on death, we probably punch back enough to murder that unit mostly. Or at least devastated to a certain degree. There's just so many things that in this matchup that they're really hoping on beating us. It is not an easy fight by any means, but they aren't playing the Ironstorm Spearhead, which is where they optimize combined arms, which is harder for us. Now we go into the second matchup. We have Eldari. Interesting enough, you get 20 points into this. So we have Archark, Wayleaper, Spirit Seer, and then Yarinkan. A Night Spinner. So right here, guys, just remember, whenever you're fighting the Night Spinner, when they have the Incarnate, they have a Night Spinner, take your grots, put them in a strategic reserve. Put something so that you don't allow them to shoot your unit, fully kill it, and then pop a young Karn in your backfield and start harassing you and causing you to go backwards. Because when you're going into Eldar, you just constantly want to move forward and not let them get behind you. That way you can just kind of run them over. We have Rangers, Swooping Hawks, Warwalkers. So Warwalkers, if you're not running squigs, these guys can be kind of oddly durable. MegaNobz kind of help solve them too, but just keep in mind they have like T9, I want to say, or 8 with built-in -1 to wound. So they're kind of a little durable in their own way. Warp Spider, and then Wraithguard. Wraithguard with a cannon. So these are good anti-armor and such. I just think I don't know if they solved their answer for the Orks, right? Orks kind of tend to just kind of walk this list. They're going to concede the board too much if they move the Warwalkers forward, which normally they're relying on the Warwalkers being able to be durable and withstand firepower and scout and da-da-da. You're just giving us kind of leap pads if you do that. And the Incarn doesn't hold up to a bunch of squigs, to be honest. So not surprised by that performance. Round number 3. Yeah, surprisingly, I'm not surprised by that because, Eldar just sometimes get walked by Orcs on certain missions. Then again, we have the Necrons coming in on this round 3, a Canoptic. So we have the Chronomancer, Catan Night Shard, Void Dragon, Royal Warden. Oh, so we actually can fall back. There's the one list that can. Technomancer. We have the Immortals, Canoptic Reanimator. So I think this is kind of weakness. I don't know if he needed that. 2 Swarm, 3 Swarms, Wraith, Locust Destroyers, and Tomb Blades. I think instead of bringing these Reanimators, having more bikes, even Immortals might have helped him out. But overall, we'll see. And then the Locust Destroyer and Tomb Blades. Again, we see an individual kind of destroyer, I think just for 30 points running around doing stuff. And then the Warden, so they can fall back in charge. So you remember how I just said, I said they couldn't, they can't unless they have that guy on their list. But this list just composes of like 3-4 units, right? It's just 3 Wraiths. And then the Immortals doing everything. You're challenging Orcs to throttle when they have, like I said, on this list, you have gas for this one specific reason. This one big unit of Nobz, another specific reason. You take the Nobz, you're going to stand on the objective here, you big gits, you big Wraith gits. We're going to run right at you on the wall, put our 40 knob punches into you, plus our 9 from the War Boss. We're going to use Unbridled Carnage. We're going to be within the gas range to get lethal and Makari 5s. So you sustain 5s and crit 5, lethal 5s. Just pick up one of those Wraith units just straight outright. And they're going to challenge you to do that. And Orcs do have the damage potential. And that's where I think gas is coming more and more into play. You're not taking him because he's running in with his damage 4 and killing all your problems. You're taking him because he just makes the wall like puts it to that next level. That way you don't, whiff on the wall. Because that's what hurts guys, right? It's our one game ability. And then if it goes off and you just don't get your results from it, it's just, it throws us on the back foot. So doubling down on your wall potential is really what Gaz does. People think of him as like, is he another Maz? He's not really. He's actually like a support kind of character, surprisingly. So his 4th matchup, we have Chaos Knights. So these are actually this could be a tough matchup too. So we have Warwalkers, This is 4th matchup, right? Yeah, this 4th matchup. We have War Dog with a Stalker, Brigand, and then all Carnivores. Let me guess, Nurglings, and then Silax can get up, I believe, and she fights Nurglings, so they like to have some units. I think if they're smart, they'll use Nurglings to kind of keep Squigs away early game. If not, they'll put them just right by there, and then you'll just run down their War Dogs and start just crumping them all over the place with their Squigs. You do have to worry about which ones you choose to activate, right? Sometimes you might be overzealous and think, I'm going to go take out the Brigands. But in reality, the Brigands don't really do any damage. Just take out the Carnivores when they do get into combat with you. You know, obviously, like I like to say, find death on those. But it's just prioritizing the fact that you're still trying to play the mission. They do have good OC, so keep them from being able to tag in. You know, keep the Brigands from being able to tag in. And force them to charge, and hopefully you can crump them there too, right? But sometimes that can be a hard mission. Don't get me wrong. Even though he did well with what he had, mind you, he has Gaz and Moz, so he can just take and the War Boss with his Nobz, so he can take down multiple of these dogs at the same time. But if you're not bringing Gaz and Moz and Nobz and Squigs, you can definitely get overwhelmed there. If you're just bringing like a bunch of transports, they can pop a bunch of them and then charge the stuff inside or indirect them with their little crappy gun sometimes. So yeah. And then last but certainly not least is the game he actually lost. It was until just like we just said, until Chaos Knight. So War Dog until he just went into it again. But with this one, he had 2 Huntsmans. I don't think that really necessarily made a difference. I think possibly having more Nurglings could have possibly made a difference. If you really want to know my guess, I don't know what happened, but look at the score. This is giving me the idea that he limited him by possibly going first and just keeping down that, you know, this guy's kind of list. With this Squig list, because he has all these big units of Squigs. And then even a truck does need a little bit of space. Moz needs space. His Squig-Off needs space. Like, you need to move up the speed. His War Bikers need space. And this happened to me before where someone took a ton of Nurglings. They put them right on the line and they hoped to go first. They went first. They stood 1 inch away from my deployment line or whatever. And then they said, here we go. I'm just going to hold you here for 1 turn and warm up the field and play all my secondaries and my missions and stage and continue to play. So, and if they roll hot enough, I mean, they do have Meltas and guns that can kill you. So don't get me wrong. Like I just said earlier, prior to that, you can lose that matchup. It's not like easy. And that's what happened with Juan Manuel. So, you know, I mean, you drop that 2-up invul, you never know with Gaz, right? Turn 1. But other way, great job getting 4th place, doing great for the Orks. Whoa! You know, so, and he lost to the person who ended up winning the event. So, like I always say, you lose to people who are doing well. And, you know, where you get in placement sometimes has to do with who you win against. I mean, it does have to do with who you go against too. So no shame there. Great job. So as for Orks, as we've seen in this week, guys, and going forward, what are some things we can take away what we just looked over, guys? Let's do a quick recap before we end this, and I'll obviously take a look at chat. So give me some feedback right here. But just my food for thoughts. Necrons going forward are going to be something that people are attacking for. And they're going to be very worried about that faction. Do I think you need to infiltrate to deal with Necrons? No. I think we're actually hoping the raids can kind of close in the distance as long as you bring the tools to kind of crump them, as Squigs can do that. I strongly advise that you soften that Squig unit, because if you get stuck in combat with those raids, that can end up being a problem, just because you will lose an OC eventually to them, and they will slowly dwindle you. You know, at least they have the chance to. They don't reroll wounds, but they have the chance to slowly dwindle you if you're stuck in combat, because then you're wounding them poorly and they're regenning and So yes, that's something to keep in mind. And then we still have Ironstorm being a problematic unit. Beast Boss did fall off my list for that reason. So, you know, Squigs are in there. I still think Gaz for that reason, and he's been more and more at the top of the meta. So keep an eye out on Gaz. The Immortals make it so running. I've been talking about the Nob with Ball Banner, and the boys, you know, might want to hold that off for a little bit, just because you do have these Arcoflagellants with the sisters running around a little bit that can do kind of good into that. Sometimes you have, you know, the Necrons right now, they're going to have good potential. Now you got Leagues of Voltaine, good potential into that. So let's not go into, you know, it doesn't help us in our harder matchups. So I do think Squigs going forward are still going to be needed. Still going to be used. Flash kits are still very useful right now. We're still going to keep them. Let's keep using them. So don't worry too much about the data slate, guys, just going forward. Keep playing Orks how you play them. If we're going to go up, I assume it's less than 100 points, hopefully about 65, 75 points. You might have to drop, you know, a biker unit or a Stormboy unit to maintain your list. But Orks should still be doing quite well. There's nothing to freak out about. So it's still about the rise of the green tide. We're sitting at a great spot. Keep everybody motivated. Keep everybody happy. Just so you guys know, for those who are here on Friday, we're going to talk about the wall before Christmas. We had a grand apocalypse game where I ended up becoming the grand warlord for the apocalypse for the Ork teams. It wasn't planned. They voted for me. So thank you to you guys if you end up seeing this or the video in the future. We're going to post. I have pictures. I met Wicked Joe from our Discord there. The Orks did great. We ended up pulling out the dub. It was actually pretty impressive because we were going against a lot of meta armies that were on the same team. So, yeah. That being said, guys, we appreciate you. Let me take a look at what the chat's saying. Give me some feedback here. Let me get some wars in the chat and some Ork badge. Get some Ork emojis. Let me get some MegaNobz emojis and some Ork boy emojis because I feel like I need some more emojis in my life. Just built a second Nava Smasher Squig. Gonna build at least 3 more Squig Hogs soon. Yeah, I'm keeping 12 Squigs on my list, and both of them do have the Nobz with wall banner. I mean, the Nobz Smasher Squig on there. Remember, last time he came down in points, and I didn't, I was surprised the heck out of me. I was like, more. You guys brought him down more, just like the War Boss and the Nobz. So just keep in mind, those guys were even cheaper before. So if they go back down, don't be super discouraged of using them because they were good back then. They'll still be good now. All right. Let me get some boys in chat. Let me get them emoji boys in chats and for them, routes, run herders, whatever you guys like. In my last 3 games, my Bob Squigs, I'll be rolling ones or single ones. That's just unlucky. Just remember, if that happens, throw a grenade. Feel better the next turn, right? Just throw a grenade. Be like, oops, I messed up. Grenade, because Orks do. Remember, Squig Cowboys have grenades, and you don't need to, even if you advance, you can still throw a grenade. You just have to have essentially to use grenades, you just need the grenade keyword. That's it. Just read the strat. Hey, boys. What's up, you get? Let me see some grots in chat. For the Revolution War. Ork daggers with this little froggos. All right, everybody. That is it for today. It's the Rise of Green Tide. We're still doing great. Our win percentage is pretty good spot, guys. I'm looking forward to Orks where they're at. I'm not that worried about the data slate. How my list is changing. I'm keeping flash kits. I'm adding more squigs. I still got my Nobz. I'm considering throwing more MegaNobz on the list, but with the rates coming out, I pulled back on that just because I think I need the volume. So yeah. That being said, there's always one thing to keep in mind is don't cross a wall because we knock your teeth out. Whoa!